The following is a special presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
To set up some kind of trial workout, get down here to see what's going on. Did you see stats?
Stats don't mean anything if he doesn't fit in our system.
That's true.
We need speed.
I think we need a face.
We need a leader.
We all need to work together on this. We seem to be going off in different directions.
Listen up.
There's no room in this game for error. One call can either make or break a franchise. The pressure to meet expectations can beat you down. Look who's out there. They all have speed. They all have power. But what else do they have? Your eyes and ears are everywhere.
Strong finish.
Listening.
4-2-8.
Watching. Studying.
The jury's still out. This kid's got to show me something.
But he does have raw talent.
That's got to count for something.
There will be questions.
Hold on.
Issues.
There may be a trade.
Differences of opinion.
If we don't get this guy, the next team will.
Media distractions.
Why isn't that next quarterback Jamarcus Russell?
As the pressure builds, the stakes get higher. The calls pour in.
Stand by, friends. No. Call me back when you got something good.
Fatigue sets in.
Hit it.
If you slip, you're beat. If you're beat, you're done. That's how it works in the NFL. You need to look at yourself in the mirror. Know you've left it on the field and done all you can. Finally, it comes down to your turn.
We got one shot to get him.
Is it integrity, heart, courage, leadership, dedication? Here's your shot.
Listen up. We're on the clock.
Now, make the call.
Welcome to the 2007 NFL Draft, presented by Coors Light.
For 3/4 of a century, Radio City Music Hall has been the home of so much entertainment, top-line entertainment. Wow, this weekend in the National Football League, you don't get any more top-line than this. The fans have been ready since dawn. Not only fans of the New York or the local teams, but from all the 32 teams, because it is their chance to weigh in and see how their team is going to help themselves when they take the field this September. Inside Radio City for the second year, this is the 2007 NFL Draft, or as they say in verbiage befitting a court, the annual selection meeting of the National Football League for the 72nd time. It started with Jay Berwanger back in the 30s, who will be the number one pick today. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Berman. So glad to be with us. Once again, ESPN gavel-to-gavel coverage. With us here in New York, a Hall of Fame quarterback and our compatriot on Sundays. Now Mondays is Steve Young. You kind of dipped to the other league first, so you missed this. We wanted you to have a chance.
I know, that was my first opportunity to be the first draft choice. I hope I heard my name called.
Well, we'll see. We have connections with the commissioner. We will see. Of course, as we said before, Christmas, New Year's Eve, Easter, you name the holiday, it's his holiday. Bill Kuiper with us for the 24th year. Welcome again to be here, Boom. And with us to provide some levity, if not brevity, to all the situations around the league is Chris Mortensen, the insider.
Let's buckle up for some surprises here, Boomer.
I think we're going to buckle up for safety. It's the law now, you know, so you better make sure. Now, once upon a time in 1996, the New York Football Jets had Keyshawn Johnson, young man from USC, as the number one pick overall. 800 catches later, more than 10,000 yards later, going to his 12th season in the league, this time with Carolina. Keyshawn, you're back. It wasn't here, but welcome. And what do you remember of that day?
It was exciting. It was obviously exciting for me and my family. We had all these things going. We had plenty of friends around, and it was crazy. Pre-draft before that, the night before, was even crazier. So, you know, I feel like I'm getting ready to get drafted again, except I got a few bulls when you announce me.
Well, they'll only be, it is a receiver. You're one of two. You and Irving Fryer have only been a couple of them, so you certainly will be able to give us perspective. And speaking of receivers, if it was just a grade, Mel Kiper, would you have Calvin Johnson, Georgia Tech, number one?
Definitively, boom, number one. Calvin Johnson, the consensus overall number one pick in this draft on teams' boards. Look at that size, 6'5", 240 pounds at 4'3", 540. Turns some heads in that 42 vertical. He should be a uncoverable wide receiver in the NFL. I think you look at a guy like that, and he could be special immediately.
And there in the green room is Jamarcus Russell, the big, and I mean big quarterback from LSU. Will he be the one tabbed by the Oakland Raiders? Where do you have him, Mel?
Fourth overall on the big board. And I think when you look at Jamarcus Russell, he's a quarterback, and that's what Oakland needs. That's why he's going to be the number one pick, and he has to be the number one pick. Very rarely in the history of the NFL have you seen a kid with the kind of rocket arm he has on a 6'5.5", 260-pound frame.
The other quarterback to be tabbed very high in this draft, the much decorated young man from Notre Dame, that would be Brady Quinn.
Yeah, you look at Brady Quinn, you think, okay, he dropped below Russell, and of course the Sugar Bowl performance of Jamarcus Russell helped him. Brady Quinn didn't have the guys around him that Russell did. You look at his completion percentage, dropped a little bit, but he didn't have Anthony Fasano, didn't have Maurice Stovall. Still, though, Boom, over the last 2 years, 69 touchdown passes and 14 picks. That speaks volumes. The key, though, is Cleveland. If they pass on Brady Quinn, 7 Minnesota, 9 Miami, they'd be able to find a heck of a pick at that point.
Well, you've helped us identify some of the main characters as the the curtain is about to go up here on the 2007 NFL Draft. We'll open it up with the Commissioner, Roger Goodell, and we return to New York City.
I'm Jamarcus Russell.
Jamarcus Russell, touchdown LSU.
I'm Brady Quinn.
He's going in. Notre Dame has scored.
I'm Alan Branch.
Alan Branch came back.
I'm Paul Posluszny.
Posluszny's got him.
I'm Troy Smith. Smith to throw.
Touchdown.
Joe D'Amico. I have more than 20 years experience of keeping cars running longer and in good condition. Here's another tip that can help you. These are brake pads, and they're a key component to making your car come to a stop. Checking your brake pads every 8,000 miles prevents unwanted damage and is important in keeping everyone safe. This sound is a warning. You need to get your brakes checked right away. Bring your car to the pros at Jackson Auto. We'll save you money, and if you find a better deal, we'll match it. It's that simple. We're the certified technicians at Jackson Auto Group.
It's great time. Great deals. When it comes to choosing a career, consider the laborers and union contractors. When you think of the laborers, think construction, healthcare, landscaping, environmental services, and much more. With a time-honored practice of apprenticeship, you'll be trained in starting a dynamic new career as a laborer. The laborers, with its great benefits of employment security and training opportunities, will provide you valued skills. You can have a secure career in the construction industry. The laborers are now recruiting and training statewide.
Back in New York, the scene is set for this, the 72nd NFL Draft, Radio City Music Hall. Now the fans in the upper tiers, the upper balconies, the lower balconies, all waiting to see. That's a historic day. The Commissioner.
Good afternoon. All right, NFL fans, this is the time we have all been waiting for. The 2007 NFL Draft is now open. Each team has 15 minutes in the first round. The Oakland Raiders are now on the clock.
And so Commissioner Roger Goodell essentially opening the 2007 season, if you will. The Oakland Raiders closed it, not in dramatic fashion. The Raiders earned that first pick the old-fashioned way. They were Raiders of the Lost Ark. They earned it. They were 2-14, and so after 1 year as head coach, the Hall of Famer Art Shell out, Lane Kiffin, 31 years young, and Keyshawn New from USC as he helped coordinate that offense under Pete Carroll. He's the coach. They got 12 offensive touchdowns last year. The Raiders, who score so many points, only scored 168 last year. And the current quarterbacks, with the experiment of Aaron Brooks not working, Andrew Walter, Josh Booty. That would be who's under center for the 32nd ranked offense, the low-scoring offense. And so the Raiders now have 15 minutes to decide what will we do to start to improve the offense. Let's head out west, where it's 9 a.m. Still time for breakfast. Ed Werder is at Raiders headquarters. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Boomer. The Raiders are the only team in the NFL in the last 10 years that haven't used a first-round pick on a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, or a tight end. That streak will almost certainly end today. It appears the Raiders have wide receiver Calvin Johnson as the #1 player on their draft board, but after Al Davis, in firing Art Shell last year, accused him of making a mistake that he now has to fix in talking him out of drafting Matt Leinart #1 last year, people here tell me that they can't imagine if the Raiders hold on to the #1 pick that they wouldn't take Jamarcus Russell, the LSU quarterback. The hedge, Boomer, is they have multiple trade discussions underway at the moment as they're on the clock with a number of teams, including the Cleveland Browns at #3. And that's because the Raiders coaching staff would be willing to take Brady Quinn and make him the centerpiece of the rebuilding job here.
Well, all right, Ed, we will see what happens. We should just put this out there. It didn't happen last year, of course. Mario Williams went, but 7 of the last 9 first overall picks dating back fittingly to 98, Peyton Manning, have been quarterbacks. Will this be 8 of 10? Is it Russell? What's going on in the green room? You figured the players would have some idea. Susie Colbert is working the green room. What do you know down there, Susie?
Well, Chris, I would say that this is unprecedented. I spoke to every agent that's in this room. It remains a mystery. I'll attribute that to Al Davis controlling the draft right now. The only agent that seems to have some comfort level right now, Jamarcus Russell's agent, although he told me that still is not completely certain.
Wow. Well, even for Al Davis, Mort, this is uncharted territories. The Raiders had the #1 overall pick in 1962. They drafted Roman Gabriel, by the way, went on to play with the LA Rams. Al Davis became part of the Raiders and the Raiders starting in 1963. So even for Al, this is uncharted. Where's he sailing?
Well, it is Al Davis. It's great that the Raiders have the #1 pick because, yes, he's had Ken Stabler and the Jim Plunkett's and Gerald Lamonicas and the Rich Gannons and what have you, but he's also loved great novel athletes like the Bo Jacksons or Tim Brown and Randy Moss and what have you. And so Al Davis and the Raiders are capable of deception, capable of mystique. I think we're getting all of that on this day and certainly during this time on the clock. Yes, we all believe that it's supposed to be Jamarcus Russell, but would we all go, what happened if it's Calvin Johnson or if they trade? No, because it's Al Davis and the Raiders.
Good.
It is good.
He's selling tickets already.
It's the truth,
Did you get it?
It's the truth, though.
In his fashion. Now, you've heard the expression, able to leap tall buildings with a single bound with Superman. So, Jamarcus Russell able to throw a football 60 yards off his knees, maybe 80, 85 yards. Is this true, Mel?
Got extraordinary ability, Boom, throwing the football. You got a kid with his size and his arm strength, certainly John Elway-like, Burt Jones-like. I think when you look at Jamarcus Russell, the improvement he made throughout his career, it's unbelievable to go from where he was early on to where he was this past season as a junior. 28 touchdown passes, only 8 picks. Decision-making improvement was phenomenal. And then you look at the imposing size. You talk about recognition when you drop back in that pocket. This guy is not a scrambler. This guy is a pocket passer. And the window there, a little, I think, narrower at times. I think it has expanded because of the skill of their wide receivers, and that concerns some people in the NFL that, hey, he had guys running wide open, but when he did have that narrow window, he was able to deliver the football. Mobility is not ever going to be Vince Young, but he can sidestep defenders, shrug them off in the pocket with all that strength, and pick up a first down when need be. Keep those chains moving. You look at 6'5", 260, to be able to see the field, number one, and then be able to be very difficult to tackle in that pocket for defensive ends and blitzing linebackers. That size is very imposing. Getting the ball up and over a Jarvis Moss from Florida, up and over those big defensive ends. Arm strength, as I said, John Elway, Burt Jones, like this kid has a rocket arm, can throw from any angle of his body, doesn't have to set, plant, and mechanics don't have to be ideal for this kid. And you watch him here, line of scrimmage, he owned 42-yard line of LSU, gets away some pressure there, and there goes the football. Down the field, accurate strike, and here we see him on his knee, throwing the football, almost hit the roof. and throwing the football 64 yards. That is an amazing skill set that Jamarcus Russell brings to the table. You see what I talked about earlier, the improvement throughout his career. Look at that touchdown interception ratio. Gradually improved to the point where it was outstanding. You look at the completion percentage, phenomenal. And when he did make a mistake and had a bad play, he had a very short memory.
All right, see what he can do. Obviously, some amazing arm skills. Steve, so what is it necessary to have to be a big-time quarterback?
I mean, that was a pretty good highlight reel right there. Now, you have to say that kid's got a lot of talent. There's three things that I've seen over the years that great quarterbacks have to have, and I would not put a premium on arm strength and size, although they're important. As long as your quarterback is average and everything else, the three things that you have to have is what I call leadership moxie. The ability to come into a game and say, yeah, I've got a defensive head coach who doesn't know how to call plays. Yeah, my thumb hurts. Yeah, it's raining. Yeah, my teammates are down in the fourth quarter by 8. I got a selfish wide receiver, second string left tackle. I'm looking for all my teammates are looking for the bus to go home. The crowd's on me. How do I now wrap that all up, put it on my back, and tell everybody we're going down and win this football game? That's leadership moxie. Everybody has to have it. Jamarcus Russell is so young, I don't even know how to judge him on that, but it's got to come out of that because he needs that element. He also needs what I call aptitude, the ability to take all the information in the NFL, all the plays, everything that goes on in the playbook, memorize it and get ready to play. I think that he can do that. He showed that ability that he can grow very quickly. He did that last year. And then accuracy. Every great quarterback has to be able to deliver the football on the spot. Not enough is talked about on that level. We'll talk about that with Brady Quinn later. Jamarcus Russell does have that. So it's his youth that I think is the most big factor here as he's the savior of the Oakland Raiders. Is he ready to do that day one? No. But in time, yes.
You know what I like? As we were going on, Keyshawn's listening to you describe all this about a quarterback. You want to get in the huddle right now? I just know. Let me get in the huddle with this sort of guy. So we know he's not retiring quite yet. A guy that played quarterback awfully well in the National Football League once upon a time, took the Eagles to a Super Bowl. Ron Jaworski. As you look at Russell, and good morning or good afternoon, I should say, Jaws, his arm strength, what stands out most about you?
Well, you know, I love Steve's keys, but I think accuracy goes to the top. It is the most overlooked aspect of quarterbacking, throwing the football accurately. I would disagree with Steve about arm strength. I see the NFL now where you have to have a power thrower in the pocket. As you see the evolution of defenses with nickel and dime packages, the windows are very small. You have to be able to stick the ball in those tight windows. That's what Jamarcus Russell can do. So I think the power throwers have a better chance. Because I've studied Jamarcus Russell, the one thing he can do is he has the inventory of every throw you project to the next level. And he can make every throw accurately from different platforms. I believe Jamarcus Russell is the only franchise quarterback in this draft. A lot of real good quarterbacks. He's the only guy that I say you build your team around, Boomer.
All right, Jaws, we have 6.5 minutes left with this very first pick, owned at least for the moment by the Oakland Raiders. Or could somebody want to come up or could the Raiders make some other move with quarterback that would allow Calvin Johnson to be, who you have rated highest on the board, for him to be the top pick? Rare ability in a receiver coming out of the draft, yes?
I doubt, Boom, anybody that studied college football and had any ratings whatsoever had anybody but Calvin Johnson, number one on the board. Immediately when he declared for the NFL draft, he rose immediately to that top spot because he is so physically gifted. Obviously, great character, great work ethic, all those so-called intangibles he brings as well to the table. When you look at a wide receiver, rare physical skills at 6'5", 240 with 4.35 speed and a 42 vertical. The only thing was at Georgia Tech, the quarterback made it a little tough on Calvin because in 4 games, if you can believe it, this year, he had 3 receptions or less. In 1 game against Clemson, he was shut out. That shouldn't happen, but it was the quarterback more than it was the receiver, Calvin.
Another 15 years. I had an evaluator tell me, Calvin Johnson, ability of Randy Moss, character of Jerry Rice.
Here it is, the first pick.
Okay, Raider fans, with the first pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select quarterback Jamarcus Russell, LSU.
Russell, who last year threw for over 3,000 68%, 28 TDs and only 8 interceptions. Played big in the big games, and now he's the #1 overall pick in the 2007 draft, making it 8 of the last 10 years a quarterback going #1, Mel.
And you're right, look at this, Bill. Oakland taking a guy like Matt Leinart or Jay Cutler last year, they could have taken Calvin Johnson. But the quarterback situation, the way it is right now, Jamarcus Russell's going to immediately energize that Raider Nation, that fan base, that football team on the practice field, in that locker room. 3 years from now, you could be looking at a guy who's certainly one of the elite top 5 quarterbacks in this league. And I think when you look at the difference between Brady Quinn and Jamarcus Russell, everybody says it's the superior physical ability. Brady Quinn's a big guy. Nobody has an arm like Jamarcus Russell, and mobility is a little underrated. I think that slow, deliberate motion is a concern. Having great receivers running wide open, the NFL, that's not going to be the case. Obviously, he'll need a little time, but you're talking about a 2 to 3 year period once he's under center. Look out, because skill level that he has is certainly John Elway-like.
You know what? The Raiders kept it to the end. They made the pick and then called him. That's why he's not right up there and saying, we can't tell you yet. Oh, now you're picked. He obviously just met Al Davis over the phone. You know what is interesting is we go to 8 out of 10. 98, Peyton Manning, home run. 99, Tim Couch, not so much a home run. Michael Vick in 2001, exciting. We'll see. 2002, David Carr, on to his second team. 2003, Carson Palmer, we think he'll be great. 2004, Book still out on Eli. 2005, Alex Smith. So you're seeing, just because you're first with the quarterback, your rate of an A to a D is all over the map.
It's a quarterback-centric league, Bowman. At the end of the day, quarterbacks run the league, and that's why they're that first pick. And I talked to Greg Knapp, offensive coordinator, earlier this week. He believes that Jamarcus Russell can do very well in this offense. This is going to be a quick strike offense. I wouldn't call it West Coast because that word means so much now, but it's going to be a quick drop, deeper drop as well. You'll be able to make all those throws. Greg felt he had a quick release. He could make the short throw, the long throw. Mel and everyone has said about his arm strength. He's also a great touch, so that'll give him the ability to run this offense very well.
Steve, I remember I'm talking to Rams coach Scott Linehan, who knows quarterbacks pretty well, saying his range with his arm is bizarre. But he's got touch, he's got accuracy. Now, some people believe strongly he does have to sit at least a year. And think about this. At LSU, he was a highly acclaimed high school quarterback coming out with all these physical skills, by the way. They made him redshirt for a year, and then they got him ready and worked him hard, and he got better every year, as Mel pointed out.
Every year was a big point because the year before, that would have been a big issue because sophomore year was not nearly what his junior
Just a little bit of history for the Raiders. Their first, once upon a time, they got a guy who was a first-round pick, not of their own, but his name was Billy Cannon. Played at LSU. Billy Cannon was on Super Bowl teams. He becomes the 8th #1 overall pick in the draft to be a member of the Oakland Raiders. But it's the first one that they drafted themselves. Good luck. Jamarcus Russell. Is it Calvin Johnson next as Detroit is on the clock?
Coach Ditka, did you really say you'd trade all your draft picks for a case of frost-brewed Coors Light?
I mean, I didn't say it in those general terms, but I said it like that.
Okay, well then what about the teams that didn't trade for Coors Light?
You know, they're behind everybody else right now, and they have to catch up.
Coach, are you sure you're not confusing the NFL draft with draft beer?
I'm going to keep on losing my train.
Frost-brewed Coors Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL.
Coach, I thought he couldn't see. Is this cool?
He doesn't seem as comfortable there for some reason.
Hey, Rooks, I didn't get picked first in the draft. Didn't start my first 3 games. Didn't sit still. Didn't want to play another position. And definitely didn't want to lose my first NFL game back home in Houston. But I did do one thing no one expected. I did get Rookie of the Year. Welcome to Madden NFL 08. Product not yet rated. EA Sports is in the game.
What's up? Nothing. Check this out. Is that what you call a chair in Minnesota?
NFLShop.com to get your new NFL Draft Day hat. I want that! NFLShop.com.
Back in New York, and just moments ago in the green room, an emotional Calvin Johnson just got some news. Detroit Lions with the second pick on the clock. Now, we don't know anything yet, but no activity at the Lions table, but he looked pretty happy. That's just us reading into it. The Lions have a little under 8 minutes to take their time, and of course, the Detroit Lions, what have they done in recent years? They've drafted a wide receiver, number one. Lions last year, in the first year under Rod Marinelli, were 3-13. And so the last years, after Joey Harrington was a quarterback drafted, Charles Rogers didn't pan out. Roy Williams is certainly a good player. Mike Williams hadn't panned yet. And then last year, Ernie Sims. So look at that. 3 of the last 4 years, a wide receiver, but with all due respect to Roy Williams, who's a very good player in this league, none of them have the skill sets of Calvin Johnson.
Well, I think that one thing that you got to think about, if they take Calvin Johnson, they're probably looking to trade with Tampa, so Tampa can now take Adams and do some things there with him. What do you think about that?
Well, we know it's been discussed. Sal Palantonio has been talking about it. It's been speculated about. But at the same time, Matt Millen, what he was trying to do is be so dynamic outside with wide receivers. Charles Rogers was a lot of people's number 2 pick in that draft. He broke his collarbone twice. He ran into problems with drugs. So the concept was, okay, it's Mike Williams that threw everybody off. So if Calvin Johnson is one of the top-rated prospects of the last 10 years, that'd be like saying, okay, we have some good running backs, but some of them slipped up. Here comes Barry Sanders. Oh, we better not take Barry Sanders. No, you take him. I believe the Lions are going to draft Calvin Johnson. If they cannot trade, they're going to be very happy that they have him.
But being around Coach Marinelli loves defensive players. He loves guys like a Simeon Rice, a defensive end. Adams is there for him. Brian Kelly is not happy in Tampa right now. He wants out. Rob Marinelli coached Brian Kelly at USC. He likes him. He coached him down at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They got rid of Drake Blythe. So moving that thing around, and John Gruden loves big receivers. We all know that.
Listen, if anybody in this draft right now traded up to get Calvin Johnson, we'd all say, what a great move. Because Calvin Johnson, really, if we're talking about not just the top-rated draft prospect in this draft, but one of the top-rated prospects of any draft.
Well, we do know this, and folks should remember the scenario by which a couple of years ago, Eli Manning said he wouldn't go Chargers. Chargers picked him anyway. Then Phillip Rivers went to Giants several picks later. Then that trade happened afterwards. So there is a possibility that even if we're about to hear Calvin Johnson's name announced for Detroit, that until Tampa comes up, maybe even behind, they pick a player Detroit wants, that still could materialize. For the latest from Buccaneer headquarters, let's join in with Sal Palantonio. Hi, Sal.
Hi, Boomer. There's no question that exactly what Keyshawn Johnson talked about a little while ago, that if the Lions do take Calvin Johnson, that the Bucs could entertain the idea of taking Gaines, Adams, and then a swap of picks, but it wouldn't be that easy because I'm told that the Lions are demanding both of the Bucs' second-round picks. And at this point, General Manager Bruce Allen, who told me yesterday I could sit at 4 and do nothing and be very happy, that's what they would do, Boomer.
All right, Sal, thank you. A little under 5 minutes to go here on the Detroit Lions pick. Our Monday night crew is together here at the draft. That would be Mike Tirico, Ron Jaworski, Tony Kornheiser. Michael.
Hi, Chris. Hi, everybody. There is no question that there will be trade activity before, during, and after the Lions' time on the clock. Tony, this is a franchise that has lost 10 games 6 consecutive years, but is not under the pressure franchises would be given that recent track record.
Apparently not. Apparently the greatest people to work for in the world are the Ford family, because they don't much care about football. They care what's going to replace the Taurus. I mean, that's the big business there. You can make draft after draft after draft and whiff on it, and it's okay.
But ultimately, Tony, you have to win. The fans in Detroit have about had it. They've got to start winning football games. Somewhere along the way, they've got to find the quarterback. I love it, Calvin Johnson, love it, Adrian Peterson, but eventually, John Kitna is not going to be the guy under center. They need the man at quarterback in Detroit, and they've got to get him in this draft.
You live there.
I can tell you with certainty that the past history of receivers, working or not working, will not deter them from taking Calvin Johnson with this selection. So, Boomer, there's Detroit on the clock with the card going in from right behind us. Here's Roger Goodell, the commissioner, with the second overall pick of this draft. Will the Lions take a receiver at the top of their draft for the 4th time in the last 5 years?
I love that line.
With the second pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions take wide receiver Calvin Johnson, Georgia Tech.
Calvin Johnson, 6'5", with speed of 4.38. Now, I know those are numbers, but those are not usually numbers that you put together with a receiver at 6'5". So there's Calvin in the green room, and we saw the reaction in Detroit. A great moment. I mean, can we put ourselves back in the position of these young men? They've dreamt of their life about playing pro football. Now they're here in New York, whatever team it is, Keyshawn, and there you go. You remember this deal.
Well, you know, if the Detroit Lions hold on to Calvin Johnson, they got something special. I just don't believe that they will. You can't get a guy like this. He's better than any other receivers that they have right now. He'll be a Pro Bowler in Mike Martz's system in the next couple of years. But I know Coach Marinelli loves defensive players, and he wants to build around defense. But if they hold on to him, he'll make John Kitna or whatever quarterback they take in the second round a much better quarterback.
Well, they certainly play. You know what? Maybe here's something to think about. As the photo op, maybe they're going to line up all wide receivers. Try it. Be some good razzle-dazzle play. Boise State did it.
Well, the question you have to ask yourself here, if you're a Detroit Lion fan or anybody listening out there, you're talking about a guy watching, that why not a quarterback? Why not Brady Quinn here? When this whole thing unfolded, we knew Oakland was picking one, and we knew Detroit was picking two. I said, oh, Russell's perfect for Oakland, and Brady Quinn's perfect for the Detroit Lions, and Mike Martz. Tough, smart kid. Mike Martz is going to love this guy. And you look at Calvin Johnson instead of Brady Quinn. Calvin Johnson, as we said, physically gifted. Russell at quarterback, unbelievable, off-the-charts physical ability. Calvin Johnson at wide receiver. You see him here like a power forward in the NBA. Those smaller cornerbacks have no chance. The great hands, the ability to separate is something everybody thought. Big receivers can't separate. They have to burst out of their break. They don't have the issues. They have problems in terms of things at the pro level that will hamper them, a la guys that we talked about, Mike Williams. That factor, I think, will affect perception if Calvin Johnson doesn't pan out big. He should be dominant. If he's not, every big receiver that comes along, Keyshawn, from now on is going to be scrutinized. You see him here adjusting to a poorly thrown ball. He had to do a lot of that during his career at Georgia Tech. As I said, 4 games this year, only 3 receptions or less. He should have been dynamic every game. You see the ability there. A hesitation move, then wide open in the hands. The long arms are amazing. Cornerbacks 5'9", 5'10", 5'11", should have no chance against Calvin Johnson, Steve.
For a moment, throw away the whole physical prowess that he has. I'm just talking about his character. I'm talking about the coordinator that interviewed him in the pre-draft time, and he said that he pushed him on why you didn't catch more balls across the field. Why didn't you come across the field more? And he pushed him on why, and instead of kind of selling out his quarterback, Reggie Ball, who had trouble seeing over linemen and throwing those balls. He never did. He kept saying, look, I played what I got. I took the passes that I got. I never went against it. And he never sold out anybody. He got pushed on it, and the coach was actually looking to see if he would sell out one of his teammates, and he never did. This kid, you got to put it in perspective. You have the body type of Terrell Owens. Think of what Terrell Owens does on the field. You have the ability at the long ball with Randy Moss and jumping and catching those balls and timing and everything else of Randy Moss. And then you have the character and work ethic, and I hate to say this because I played him for many years, of Jerry Rice. This is that kind of a kid. If they do trade him to Tampa, whoo, I don't know.
Real quick, Mel, one of the highest grades in your years of grading players for the draft at any position?
John Elway would always have the highest boom, but certainly as a wide receiver, he has the highest and one of the elite grades. And I think it's critical for Calvin Johnson to do something that a lot of big receivers have struggled with going into the NFL. How many opportunities is he going to get? Brady Quinn was on the board here. The Detroit Lions now have to look early second round. Steve brought his names up. Trent Edwards from Stanford, John Beck, BYU, Mike Martz developed Mark Bolger, developed Kurt Warner, Trent Green. He feels like he can take a guy that nobody else is that high on and make him a quarterback. But Brady Quinn was staring them in the face, and they passed on him. And that's going to be something 5 years from now we'll look back on and see how Quinn stacks up against, say, Edwards or Beck.
And now Brady Quinn is staring in the face of the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are on the clock. Brady Quinn is from Dublin, Ohio. Brady Quinn has played in bad weather. He's from Notre Dame right up the road. The pieces of the puzzle fit. The Browns read it that way. We'll be back.
Yeah, this head ball coach. He ran a what? Hey, I told you he could really go. Yeah, click clack.
Two smacks and a lift off.
Click clack.
Tonight, with the series tied, the Nuggets come back to Denver to take on the Spurs in Game 3. Then, with the Rockets up 2-1, the Jazz are out to even it up. The NBA playoffs continue tonight on ESPN with Spurs Nuggets at 8 Eastern and Rockets Jazz at 10:30.
ESPN's coverage of the NFL Draft is presented by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer, and in part by Hummer, proud sponsor of the 2007 NFL Draft. Hummer, like nothing else. And Under Armour Performance, the advantage is undeniable.
I would like to get into Cleveland early.
Now on the clock, the Cleveland Browns. That's Joe Thomas and his dad getting set to go on a fishing trip today on the Wisconsin side of Lake Michigan aboard the Foxy Lady 3. They're out at sea. Will they be awash pretty soon as a member of the Browns? Will they have to wait any longer? Will Brady Quinn go to an Ohio team? Will Adrian Peterson, running back, who's a running back who was pretty good once upon a time, played with the Cleveland Browns. Will he be one to pick up the torch? Well, we all think we know that Calvin Johnson will be one of those special players. And he showed his emotion just a moment ago, Susie.
Well, when Calvin Johnson walked into the room, he was giggling. What's going through your mind now?
Oh, man, I mean, my new situation where I know I won't be at, I'm just excited about going to Detroit.
For months we heard Calvin Johnson, best player in the draft. Beyond the natural ability, what does it take to earn that kind of recognition?
Just hard work every day, you got to put your mind to what you want to do and go out there and achieve the goals that you set, and like I said, never the hard work that got me here.
So how does a rookie go into a new situation with all the hype, but still earn everybody's respect?
You got to work hard. I think you'll gain everybody's respect when they see you're the first one on the field, last one off, just that hard work, and then they'll respect you.
Congratulations. Chris?
All right, Susie, thank you very much. Cleveland Browns, 5.5 minutes to go with their selection. The Browns now under year 3 with Romeo Cornell, who for years worked under Bill Belichick and has Super Bowl rings to show for it. They couldn't run the ball last year. 31st out of 32 teams in the National Football League. Charlie Fry, the quarterback, along with Derek Anderson. They did sign Jamal Lewis, the one-time 2,000-yard rusher from the Baltimore Ravens, and guard Eric Steinbach. Not the novelist John Steinbeck, but that's another story. And the quarterbacks last year, not the way to go, although Fry was young. Is he their guy, or do they just go with Brady Quinn, a man from Dublin, Ohio, not far down the road, with whom you can put a face on the franchise board? Why not?
It is a face that they tried to do with Tim Couch when they started this expansion franchise. But at the same time, they have had a lot of risk. And if they see any risk in Brady Quinn, I see Phil Savage, the general manager of the Browns, going with what people think might be the safest picks next to Calvin Johnson in this draft. That could be Joe Thomas, tackle, Wisconsin. Remember, Savage was the personnel director in Baltimore when they selected Jonathan Ogden, tackle, when everybody else in the world said, go offense, go offense, go offense. Oh, by the way, that paid off for the Baltimore franchise when they took Ogden. This could pay off if they go with Thomas, even though nobody certainly is going to blame him for taking the quarterback or the running back.
Steve, last 2 years under Charlie Weiss, 69 touchdown passes, 14 interceptions, Brady Quinn. However, we can debate that. Pretty productive for a couple of years.
And as Mort said, you can make a substantial case for someone other than Brady Quinn. But perceptionally, for the Cleveland Browns, as a new franchise in the last 5 or 6 years, What do you need to do to make a statement? Brady Quinn is a statement maker. He's a local kid from Notre Dame. He's ready to play football. He's gone through all the rigors that a pro quarterback has to go through. At the end of the day, Brady Quinn will make a big, huge statement above anyone else in the draft right there in Cleveland. I think that, taking all in perception is 9/10 of the law in the NFL, not possession. Perception is Cleveland Browns make a huge statement by taking Brady Quinn.
Well, I mean, he excelled under Charlie Weiss, who, like Romeo Crennel, won Super Bowl rings coaching under Bill Belichick. Here's the pick.
Okay, with the third pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select left tackle Joe Thomas.
So they couldn't run. Obviously, Joe Thomas, who grades out one of the highest grades that an offensive lineman has had in recent years, Mel, grading up towards Tony Baselli, grading up towards Chris Samuels, right? Or maybe even very close to them. Grade-wise, grading ahead of D'Brickashaw Ferguson, who went 4 last year at tackle to the New York Jets. So as a blue-chip tackle, if you buy it,
no question about it, Boom. I think what Cleveland is doing and Phil Savage is doing is saying, hey, we can build around a quarterback if we bolster the offensive line and we add some pieces for Charlie Fry or Derek Anderson. Joe Thomas this past year, and I said it all season, from the start to the finish, you could argue he was the most dominant player in college football. Nobody got near the Wisconsin quarterback. He did a great job. The amazing thing was he came off a knee injury from January, wasn't even 100% in August, yet he had a great season. You watch him here, number 72, the gifted athlete he is, able to get down the field, hit a moving target, and allow that wide receiver to pick up extra yardage. Here against Michigan, nobody got near quarterback John Stocco. Lamar Woodley was on the other side. He stoned Alan Branch on a loop and did a great job here. You talk about the entire game against Arkansas. Jamal Anderson was on the field in that game as well. So here's a kid who's athletic, has great feet. The one concern is, will the power guys in the NFL at defensive end get the best of him? At the combine, he struggled to get 28 reps up. So that's the only concern. He's not quite as strong as you would prefer him to be. He'll handle the athletic, quick guys off the edge. The power guys, that's going to be the challenge for Joe Thomas. The thing is here, Boom, go back to Phil Savage. You won a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer. As Mort said, he drafted Jonathan Ogden. The key, though, is Charlie Fry or Derek Anderson. Charlie Fry's completion percentage went up. -7 touchdown interception ratio bothers a lot of people.
Once every other year, you have a tackle mostly taken in the first 5 picks. Ferguson, we mentioned last year to the Jets. Robert Gallery hadn't panned to date with the Oakland Raiders. Mike Williams certainly didn't pan with the Buffalo Bills. Leonard Davis moved on. But Samuels, we mentioned, certainly Pace and Ogden and Baselli. Those last 4 there are as good as we've seen come into the league in the last dozen years. So Cleveland goes. They're playing in the bad weather. We got to slug it out with Baltimore. We got to slug it out with Pittsburgh. We got to at least keep the Cincinnati offense off the field. They go to a tackle. Now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the clock with about 10.5 minutes to go. And we head to Tampa for the latest with Sal Palantonio. Sal.
Well, Boomer, Bruce Allen, the general manager of the Bucs, said he had multiple options if he stayed at number 4. Of course, this is a defense that will have 5 projected starters in their 30s when they start the season. So they could go for defensive help, and the obvious pick here would be defensive end Gaines Adams out of Clemson. They have a running back in Cadillac Williams. Almost 2 years ago was Rookie of the Year, but John Gruden is absolutely in love with Adrian Peterson. However, I'm told that they do have an interest in Brady Quinn, the quarterback out of Notre Dame, even though they have on the roster Phil Simms, who they just signed a contract extension with, and also brought in Jeff Garcia. Earlier this morning, a Bucs official called representatives of Brady Quinn and expressed an interest and said, we might take Brady Quinn here. They also could trade down with a team that would be interested in Brady Quinn, perhaps the Miami Dolphins. A lot of possibilities here, Boomer.
All right, Sal, thank you very much. We just saw the list. I mean, John Gruden, An interest in Brady Quinn. Let's see. So we're going to stockpile the following. We have Chris Sims coming off the spleen injury, and he's ready to roll. We got Jeff Garcia. You saw what he did with Philadelphia last year. He is in Tampa. They traded for Jake Plummer, and theoretically, he's retired, but theoretically he's a property of the Bucs. How could they be interested in Quinn?
Well, first of all, some people just get to this point. You're picking in the top 5. You're paying a lot of money, and sometimes you just look at value. If Gaines Adams, the defensive end of Clemson, who we've all been slotting here, doesn't have that high grade to justify the money you're going to pay him, you might say, hey, we're looking at Brady Quinn. Because, look, they only have Chris Sims signed up for 2 more years. Jeff Garcia is only a 2-year guy. Jake Plummer, who knows what's going to happen with him. But for John Gruden to take a young quarterback, and he doesn't like young quarterbacks, it'd be a bold statement there, no question about it. At the same time, Brady Quinn is a guy that John Gruden worked out personally. Actually had a little fun with him. I think he showed him his picture with his shorts on, where Brady Quinn looks like a magazine model bodybuilder, and John was saying, hey, you could use another 6-pack here or whatever. So the bottom line is John Gruden has this fascination with quarterbacks, even if he doesn't like young quarterbacks. So
bodybuilding and accuracy.
Well, Bill Walsh used to say that he loved his athletes like Muhammad Ali, not built like, Joe Frazier. I mean, he would always talk about boxing and how you wanted to be smooth and lithe, and you wanted to have the muscle build that was not so defined. If he saw a defined player, even a defensive line back, he would not like that athlete. He likes quarterbacks that look like Muhammad Ali. And I'll tell you, Brady Quinn, you take his shirt off, he does not look like Muhammad Ali.
You had interesting times with Coach Gruden down at Tampa Bay.
I can see him doing this. He loves quarterbacks. He really does. And when we were down in Tampa together, we had revolving door of quarterbacks. Every time you look up, he was working out a guy. You had rumors he was going to get a guy. He wasn't happy with one quarterback after a win. He was going to do something else. So I can see him actually doing this.
Well, Brady Quinn, who knows? He's in the green room right now. He's certainly, there's only been 3 picks that are gone in the draft. He's with Susie Colbert. Suze?
Brady, you talked so much about one of the dreams being number 1 overall. So how are you handling this?
Well, obviously, again, it's something where you set up a goal for yourself. And if you don't accomplish it, I think you just got to do what you can with whatever you have left. And again, I've always talked about this. We don't have a say in where we go in this draft. We just kind of have to sit back and wait and see what happens. So that's pretty much what I'm doing right now.
And we watched you as Cleveland was on the clock, and you grew up just outside of Cleveland. What was going through your mind then?
We understand that there's a lot of things going on right now, and you hear a lot of different rumors with where they want to go. So you don't prepare yourself thinking, you may go there, you may not. I'm just waiting to hear, I guess wait to see when my name's called. And once that happens, then I'll give some sort of reaction.
Has there been anything up till now that gives you any indication of what might be coming now?
I've got a couple ideas, but again, until it happens, nothing matters. Everything's just rumors or smoke screens, so we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Okay, he was prepared for this, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, there's no, quote, bad thing if you play the Matt Leinart role and all of a sudden always slipping all the way down to 10, which is still very high, and go to a team with which we still, 1 year in, feel is a perfect fit for him.
So, or Chris, the Bucs might be getting word out. We're getting ready to take Brady Quinn. Anybody who wants to come get him, come to us.
Honestly, yesterday when I talked to him, sorry, Mel, I cheered him on to make it all the way to 9 to Miami with Cam Cameron. I said, look, this could be the greatest thing that could happen to you. And I know in the back of his mind, because he mentioned it, that's not a bad thing to happen. This kid is a mature kid. He's not going to worry about today's kind of, if there's any embarrassment about waiting till 9. 9's a great spot. If he does slip all the way to Miami, which is possible, a great spot for Brady Quinn.
The thing concerns me, Steve, is that Jake Plummer's still in the mix. If you thought you had the right quarterback, Jake Plummer retired, okay? You have Jeff Garcia, system quarterback. You have Chris Sims coming off an injury. Bruce Gradkowski, a late-round pick. The question I have more is, does John Gruden think he can win big with any of these quarterbacks?
Well, he went to the playoffs with Chris Sims. But let's face it, John Gruden, he's a little bit crazy. There's only been one quarterback he's been in love with, and that's Rich Gannon, since he's been a head coach in this league.
But he loves his quarterbacks right now. Jeff Garcia is a player, and I think also Chris Sims. That's why he wanted Calvin Johnson.
He felt like quarterback.
Hey, look, he had those guys. He knows that he can win with those guys. I think that's why he wanted Calvin Johnson.
Why is he interested in Jake Plummer?
I think he's looking for a posse of guys because he knows. It's not answered, but I think he's satisfied with those guys, that group of guys.
Plus, not only that, you have to have a number of quarterbacks in this league because if the first guy goes down, you have to have a second guy. You see what happened to us last year with Jake. Jake went down, and we were stuck with nothing, basically.
Well, here would be my thought on Tampa as a whole. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers still have a decent decent defense. Certainly, guys like Derek Brooks may not be playing at the level that he once did, but their defense, considering the offense didn't move very much last year, was middle of the pack. They signed Cato June, a light linebacker, but one that certainly understands how to play big-time football. So if you draft a couple of defensive players to make that unit good again, you know, that's way one side of the ball, the offense was ranked among the last. So if it's not Quinn, who would you go? I mean, obviously they're aging, but Simeon Rice, Rondé Barber, Derek Brooks, these guys still play good football. There's some others around. So maybe you make that defense pretty good still. If that's the case, where do they go?
And they have not used a number one pick, a first-round draft pick on a defensive player, I think, since '99 with Anthony McFarland. So you've got Gaines Adams, the defensive end from Clemson, who brings the speed off the edge that Monty Kiffin, the defensive coordinator, loves. Or you have an Amobi Okoye, a Louisville defensive tackle who can play either tackle or a Warren Sapp or an Anthony McFarland type position. So, yes, defense makes all the sense in the world for the Buccaneers, but right now, we get a little mystery.
Not only that, they got to pick somebody right now that'll help them win because they got to win.
Well, that's it. That is the point.
They got
John Gruden, some people think he only has 1 year left.
It's been quite a run there, huh? It's been a Super Bowl, 2 years no playoffs, win division, no playoffs. It's been an odd roller coaster in Tampa for Coach Gruden.
You mentioned the age, and all three of us just kind of hit on it. He recognizes that defense is going to have to be retooled and restructured over the next few years. This might be this window, and that's why, again, Calvin Johnson is why he wants a big playmaker to come in to help this team maybe go to the Super Bowl again. If not, let's start preparing.
Would have been great, but they've got to deal with the defense. I mean, listen, we love quarterbacks, we love throwing the ball, but we know that defense does win championships.
Is there any chance they're talking to Detroit right now? What do you want us to
There's
pick?
certainly a chance, but they've got. Listen, we may talk about Brady Quinn and Calvin Johnson. Practically speaking, how do you continue to ignore your defense?
Gaines Adams, who was in New York, the defensive player here in New York. Now, what does he bring?
He brings pass rush ability off the edge, boom. I think if you look at how he compares to Mario Williams from last year's draft, the number one pick overall, not certainly as physically gifted as Mario Williams, but you can make an argument that Gaines Adams was the more consistent pass rusher from the start of the season this past year till the end. Remember, a lot of Mario Williams sacks his junior year at NC State came the second half of the season. The problem with Gaines Adams, and we'll see him here, number 93, the ability to get after the quarterback is, first of all,